When they walked away, you felt that familiar sting in your chest, the one that tries to convince you something must be wrong with you. But folks, spiritual truth doesn't bend to human insecurities. When someone exits your life, the universe doesn't just shrug and toss the moment into the recycling bin. It shifts, it rearranges, it moves pieces around like a quiet chess master seeing 10 moves ahead while you're staring at one broken pawn. You think you lost a person, but what actually happened was alignment. You didn't lose them, you lost the version of them that wasn't built for the version of you that's rising. People think rejection is this dramatic moment, a scene from a movie. But spiritually, rejection is nothing more than an energy correction. Something in you was leveling up, and something in them wasn't built for the altitude. And when two energies don't match anymore, distance doesn't show up to punish you, it shows up to protect you. My friends, there are seasons where the universe refuses to let you shrink yourself just to keep someone who can't grow with you. It hurts, but it's honest. And while you sit with that heaviness, your mind keeps circling one question. Do they miss me? Do they think about me? You ask it like the answer might rewrite the past, but deep inside, you already know the truth. Energy bonds don't vanish because someone acts cold. Humans fake, folks. Energy doesn't. Someone can pretend they're over you all day, but the connection you shared doesn't disappear. Psychology even backs it up. Emotional attachments leave imprints the same way stepping on wet cement leaves a mark. You don't erase it just because you lift your foot. It dries. It stays. It becomes part of the foundation. You shape them in ways they won't admit. You're the memory that sits under their skin like a quiet heartbeat. They can ghost you, ignore you, block you, unfollow you, pretend you never mattered, but none of that stops the imprint. None of that stops the flashbacks. None of that stops the way your name pops into their mind during random, inconvenient moments. That's what the universe does. It whispers truth in the spaces people try to escape. So hear me clearly, my friend. This story is not about why they left. That's surface-level thinking. This is about why the universe allowed it. There's a reason you were pushed onto this path instead of being allowed to cling to something that wasn't built for your next chapter. Life removes people who can't travel with you, not because they're bad, not because you're unworthy, but because their energy isn't aligned with where you're headed. Sometimes the universe sends storms not to destroy you, but to clear out the connections that would have slowed you down. Because whether you accept it yet or not, something bigger is unfolding behind the scenes, something that will make their absence make sense, something that will reveal exactly what they feel, exactly what they hide, exactly why their silence isn't the victory they pretend it is. You're not walking into heartbreak. You're walking into clarity. And before we step any further into this journey, pause for a second, my friends. Take a breath. Look at where you are standing right now. You're not in the middle of loss. You're in the middle of becoming. You're not being replaced. You're being refined. You're stepping into a version of yourself that their old mindset couldn't handle, their old habits couldn't keep up with, and their old courage couldn't face. Folks, you're rising into a chapter that would have exposed every weakness they tried to hide. That's why they couldn't stay. Not because you were unworthy, but because your growth demanded a stronger companion than the one who walked away. So let's make this moment real. Not passive, not quiet. Own it. Stamp it. Claim it like it's the turning point of your life. Type it out so your brain locks it in. Put it in the comments so you see it staring back at you later when doubt tries to sneak in again. Don't just think it, declare it. Write this down loudly. I rise anyway. Drop it in the comments right now. Not later. Not maybe. Do it now because you're marking the moment the old version of you stops chasing and the new version of you starts choosing. And while you're here, press the like button, hit subscribe, and stay with me. We're just getting warmed up. Number 1. Their departure activated your destiny. When someone leaves your life, it never feels like a destiny activation in the moment. Let's be honest, folks. It feels like loss. It feels personal. It feels like something was ripped out of your hands, and the universe just watched you try to pick up pieces that don't even fit anymore. But here's the part: your hurt doesn't register right away. Some exits are not failures. They're signals. They're shifts. They're that subtle but powerful moment where life moves someone out of your path so the real version of you can finally step forward. And I know that sounds poetic, but it's not a metaphor, it's a psychological truth. Carl Jung said, "What you resist persists," meaning if you cling to someone whose energy no longer matches yours, you trap yourself in a loop that was never meant to be permanent. Their departure wasn't the universe betraying you. It was the universe breaking the loop you refused to break yourself. You didn't get abandoned, you got aligned. Their absence didn't shatter your journey, it cleared it. Think of it like walking through a forest trail. You're trying to move forward, but someone keeps stopping every few steps to tie their shoes, check their phone, complain about the incline. At first, you slow down for them, thinking it's loyalty. But what you don't notice is that slowing down for them is costing you altitude. Then one day, they just leave the trail entirely, and you're left standing there wondering why they disappeared. But the truth is simple. They didn't disappear. They just couldn't climb where you were going, and the universe knew you weren't going to leave them behind unless they left you first. That's what spiritual alignment looks like. It's not soft, it's not gentle, it's not easy, it is brutally honest. It rearranges your life based on your soul's next chapter, not your emotional attachment to the current one. And yeah, that's uncomfortable. Folks, growth rarely feels like growth when you're in the middle of it. It feels like loss. It feels like confusion. It feels like questioning yourself in the middle of the night, wondering, why couldn't they stay? What did I do wrong? Why wasn't I enough? These questions don't come from truth. They come from the wounded part of you that's scared of elevation, because elevation means leaving old versions of yourself and old people behind. The universe didn't remove them to punish you. It removed them because something inside you was expanding, and something inside them wasn't. It's like trying to pour ocean water into a tiny cup. No matter how much you try to make it work, it will spill. Some people can't contain the depth of who you're becoming, and that's not a judgment, it's an observation. Jung's whole philosophy was about the inner journey, the individuation process. Becoming the fullest version of yourself means letting go of identities, attachments, and relationships that were tied to an older you. So when someone exits your life, instead of asking, "Why did they leave?" try asking, "What version of me is this clearing space for?" That question shifts everything. Suddenly, you're not the abandoned one. You're the evolving one. You're not the rejected one. You're the transformed one. Their departure wasn't a downgrade, it was a doorway. But let's get real. It's hard to see it from that perspective when your heart is still bruised, when the images of them are still replaying in your mind like a playlist you didn't ask to be on repeat, when their absence is still echoing in your chest like someone slammed a door and the sound hasn't fully faded yet. And right when you're trying to heal, your brain starts whispering those annoying emotional questions. Do they regret it? Do they miss me? Are they thinking about me now that I'm gone? You wonder if their world feels as empty as yours does. You wonder if the connection still breathes somewhere inside them. You wonder if they ever sit in silence and feel the weight of losing you. Here's the truth your mind tries to deny. Yes, they think about you. Not because they chose to, but because emotional imprinting doesn't vanish with time or distance. You shaped them more than they will ever admit. And here's the beautiful twist. While you've been spiraling, doubting, questioning your worth, the universe has been quietly preparing the moment they see who you've become without them. You're not even done transforming yet, and already their absence is creating pressure that's shaping you into something impossible to ignore. Imagine a seed underground, in the dark, buried, pressured, hidden. No one sees growth happening there. From the outside, it looks like nothing is moving, but beneath the soil, something powerful is happening. Strength is forming, roots are anchoring, structure is building. Your heartbreak was the soil, their departure was the burial. But your transformation? That's the sprouting. That's the moment the earth splits open because something inside you refuses to stay small. That's what's happening to you right now. While you think you're falling apart, you're actually taking shape. While you think you're alone, you're actually aligning. While you think they're living happily ever after without you. The truth is, they're going to have to face what they walked away from. Because you're rising into a version of yourself that makes their old decision look foolish. And when they see it, when they feel it, when the universe puts the new you in front of their old choices, everything they hid will surface. Their regret, their longing, their confusion, their memories. Not because you forced it, not because you chased, but because transformation has a strange power. It reflects truth into the eyes of the people who once underestimated you. So let me leave you with this, my friends. You're not here by accident. You're not broken. You're not behind. You are in the middle of becoming someone stronger, clearer, wiser, and more aligned than ever before. The path didn't clear because you failed. It cleared because your destiny demanded it. Write this in the comments. I'm built for this. Number 2, their spirit misses you even if their mouth says otherwise. When they let go of you, they told themselves a story their ego needed to survive the decision. Something like, I'm better off, or it wasn't that deep, or I don't care anymore. But my friend, the ego talks loud because the soul is whispering something completely different underneath. Their mouth moved on, their pride moved on, but their spirit didn't get the memo. And spiritual connections don't evaporate just because someone tries to act unfazed in daylight. Connections like yours don't die. They drop beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to echo back into their awareness. Here's the uncomfortable truth they won't tell you. Their spirit misses you in the spaces where their ego has no power. It shows up when the world gets quiet, when the distractions fade, when no one is around to perform for. At night, when the nervous system slows down, when the mind stops pretending, that's when your energy slips through. That's when memories hit without warning. That's when they replay moments that didn't matter to anyone else, but meant everything to them. Why do you think people who claim they're over it still get triggered by songs, scents, places, or pictures? Because the subconscious doesn't take orders from pride. And this is where the spiritual part gets real. Humans can lie with their words, but energy doesn't lie. Their spirit has its own language, its own memory, its own way of holding on to what mattered, and even if they buried your connection under silence, the imprint still lives inside them. Jung talked about how the soul carries what the mind tries to forget. That's exactly what's happening to them. Their behavior is controlled by the ego, but their dreams, their emotional flashbacks, their unexpected waves of sadness or nostalgia, that's the soul talking. That's the part of them that still feels you. Think about how people act right after cutting someone off. They stay busy, they distract themselves, they force new routines, they convince everyone they're fine. But those first few weeks aren't truth, they're shock management. The real truth comes later, when the mind relaxes and the spiritual imprint has room to breathe again. That's when the quiet gets loud. That's when they start asking themselves the questions they avoided. Why am I thinking of them again? Why does this memory hurt now when it didn't the first week? Why does it feel like something's missing? They don't ask these out loud, they won't post them, they won't text you. But the questions are there. They always are. Your energy didn't disappear from their life just because they exited physically. It lingers in the emotional field you shared. It lingers in the connection you built. It lingers in the version of themselves they only accessed when they were with you. A person can move on from a conversation, but they can't move on from a feeling that changed them, and you changed them more than they'll ever admit. You awakened a part of them they didn't know how to manage. They felt seen, understood, valued in a way they weren't prepared for. And emotions like that, they don't fade, they echo. And if you're wondering why they haven't said anything, why they act so normal, why they seem unbothered on the outside, it's because acknowledging the connection would require admitting they were wrong. It would mean facing their own avoidance, their own fear, their own immaturity. Most people would rather pretend they don't feel something than confront how deeply they actually do. That doesn't mean the connection is gone. It means they don't have the courage to face it yet. Here's what you need to understand, folks. The soul doesn't operate on pride or timing. It operates on truth. And the truth is that someone who felt you on a spiritual level can't simply detach. They feel the weight of your absence in their mood, in their thoughts, in the moments they can't explain. They miss you in ways they're embarrassed to admit. They remember details you forgot you even shared. They replay moments you assumed didn't matter. They compare people to you without meaning to. And they feel the distance not like a clean break, but like a slow ache. So while you're sitting here wondering if they think about you, trust this, they do. Not because they choose to, but because they can't help it. You became part of their internal world, and you don't just erase that because pride said so. Their spirit misses you, even when their mouth says otherwise, and sooner or later, that inner truth gets louder than their outer performance. It always does. Number 3. Rejection was your redirection. When someone rejects you, the human mind rushes to the worst conclusion: something is wrong with me. But in the spiritual sense, rejection doesn't even belong to you. It belongs to timing. It belongs to alignment. It belongs to the silent laws that govern growth. My friend, rejection is not the universe slamming a door in your face. It's the universe grabbing your shoulders, turning your body around, and pointing you down a road you were refusing to look at. It's not cruelty, it's correction. Think of life like a massive river. You're flowing forward, trying to reach the ocean. But sometimes a person you care about grabs your boat and tries to pull you into a small, narrow side stream that can't carry the future you're meant to grow into. At first, you think that small stream is comfort. You think it's love. You think it's safety. But you don't realize it's also limitation. And when they let go of your boat, when they reject you, you panic. You think you're sinking. Meanwhile, the river is actually pulling you back toward your real path. The rejection wasn't a block, it was a redirecting current. Spiritual alignment works the same way. Anything that leaves your life suddenly is clearing space for something big. Not small, not average, not recycled, big. Something your old environment couldn't make room for. Something you couldn't reach if you stayed stuck in circles with someone who didn't have the capacity to grow beside you. You weren't pushed out of their world for being unworthy. You were pushed out because your energy didn't belong in a timeline that would have suffocated you. And here's the part people don't say out loud. Sometimes the person who rejects you is actually being used as the very tool that sets you free. If they stayed, you would have settled. If they stayed, you would have dimmed your voice, your standards, your purpose. If they stayed, you would have clung to comfort instead of rising into the version of yourself that demands more from life. Their rejection wasn't punishment, it was protection wearing a disguise. But let's be honest, folks, redirection doesn't feel good at first. It feels like losing something you cherished. It feels like being pushed off a cliff without warning. It feels like confusion, emptiness, and that ache in your chest that makes you question whether you'll ever feel chosen again. And that's where your mind gets loud. Why wasn't I enough? Why didn't they see what I brought to the table? Why could they walk away so easily? These questions aren't your truth speaking, they're your fear speaking. The truth is simpler, cleaner, calmer. You weren't removed from their life. They were removed from yours because they would have blocked blessings meant for you, because they would have held you at a stage that no longer matched your growth. Because they were aligned with your past, not your future. And look at your life right now. Really look. Isn't it strange how everything shifted the moment they left? Your self-awareness sharpened. Your boundaries got clearer. Your standards got higher. Your emotions forced you inward, deeper into understanding yourself. Rejection pushed you to evolve in ways comfort never could. Pain moved you closer to purpose. Silence moved you closer to clarity. Distance moved you closer to truth. That's what redirection feels like. It's uncomfortable, it's unsettling, it's disorienting, but it's also transformative. And if you pay attention carefully, you can sense the universe rearranging pieces you didn't even know needed to move. You can feel something bigger pulling you forward. Something wiser, something that actually honors your capacity. Listen, my friend, your story didn't collapse. It recalibrated. You weren't left behind. You were moved ahead. You weren't rejected. You were redirected towards something that matches your soul instead of your wounds. And one day, very soon, this chapter that feels heavy right now is going to make sense in a way that humbles you. You're going to look back and say, thank goodness that door closed. Because deep down, even now, a part of you knows it's true. You weren't being punished, you were being protected. Number 4, your energy upgrade is making the universe rearrange everything. Since they left, something in you shifted so quietly you didn't even recognize it at first. The old version of you, the one that tolerated less, the one that doubted more, the one that kept shrinking to fit into places that were already too small, started dissolving. You didn't ask for an upgrade, but heartbreak has a weird way of forcing one. Pain pushes you into evolution, the same way fire turns iron into steel. And whether you noticed it or not, your entire energetic field leveled up. Your thoughts, your intuition, your boundaries, your self-worth, all of it began rising like a tide that refuses to go backward. And here's what most folks overlook. When your energy rises, the universe starts rearranging everything around you. Not some things, not a few things, everything. Connections shift, comfort zones break, people fall away, new paths appear, old habits lose their flavor. Jung would call it individuation, the process of becoming the person you were meant to be instead of the person you were conditioned to be. But spiritually, it's even simpler. When you upgrade internally, life upgrades externally. The universe cannot allow you to stay surrounded by energies that would drag your frequency back down. You probably assumed their departure broke you down, but it actually stripped you clean. It cleared out static. It released weight you didn't even realize you were carrying. And without that weight, your energy started rising naturally, like a balloon that finally slipped out of someone's tight grip. That's why you've been feeling more aware, more grounded, more honest with yourself. That's why your standards shifted. That's why you suddenly see through people's intentions faster. You're not becoming colder, you're becoming clearer. But this clarity comes with a truth most people don't want to face. Not everyone can breathe at the altitude you're moving toward. People who once felt comfortable around you now feel exposed. People who once felt superior now feel intimidated. People who once felt in control now feel unsettled. When your energy upgrades, it doesn't just change you, it disrupts the dynamics you used to sit in. You stop playing small. You stop explaining yourself. You stop apologizing for your sensitivity, your intuition, your depth. And folks who benefited from the older version of you suddenly realize they can't control, predict, or manipulate the upgraded you. So they run. They distance themselves. They convince themselves leaving was their decision. But spiritually, they left because they couldn't stand in the presence of someone who was growing faster than they were willing to grow. Your energy became too honest for them, too reflective, too awakening. Being around you forced them to confront parts of themselves they'd rather avoid. And trust me, people would rather leave than evolve, if evolving means letting go of their comfortable illusions. And here's the twist. You didn't even ask for this reaction. You didn't try to intimidate them. You didn't try to outgrow them. You simply healed. You simply evolved. You simply rose into a frequency that exposes truth the same way sunlight exposes dust floating in the air. It wasn't personal. It was energetic incompatibility disguised as emotional rejection. They weren't pushed out. They just couldn't hold on when your vibration got too high for them to rest comfortably in. But let's flip the coin, my friend, because the same spiritual law that drives people away also pulls them back when the timing flips. When your glow starts becoming obvious, when your peace becomes magnetic, when your growth becomes visible, they feel it, energetically, emotionally, subconsciously. People are always drawn back to the energy that once made them feel safe, seen, or powerful, and whether they admit it or not, your glow is going to be a shock to their system. It's going to make them rethink their decision. It's going to make them wonder how you transformed without them. It's going to make them feel the loss they swore they'd never feel. The universe doesn't let people escape the lessons they avoided, and one of their lessons will be this. They walked away from someone who was becoming the version of themselves they always hoped you wouldn't reach. Because reaching it means they're now the one who has to catch up. Your energy upgrade is not an accident. It's a sign, a signal, a shift. And everything, every connection, every dynamic, every outcome is rearranging itself around the new you. You didn't lose anything, you outgrew it. Number 5, their replacement can't match your frequency. People love to pretend that moving on is as simple as holding someone else's hand. They think posting a selfie with a new face somehow means their heart upgraded. But you and I both know that's not how spiritual energy works. When someone tries to replace you, they're not starting a new chapter. They're avoiding the one they were supposed to grow through, and the universe doesn't reward avoidance. It exposes it. The truth is simple, my friend. They didn't replace you. They distracted themselves from you. Their new person isn't a soulmate. They're a buffer, a delay, a temporary bandage slapped over a wound they don't want to look at yet. And sure, on the outside, it looks like they're fine. It looks like they've moved on. It looks like they've upgraded. But spiritually, psychologically, energetically, they downgraded so hard, their soul felt the impact. Your energy hit them differently. It reached places inside them their new connection can't touch, because you weren't just someone they liked. You were someone who awakened parts of them they didn't know existed. You challenged them. You grew them. You reflected their potential back at them. They don't get that with someone who was chosen out of convenience, loneliness, or panic. Folks like to replace people quickly because quick replacements don't require depth. They don't require healing. They don't require accountability. When someone jumps straight into something new, it's rarely because they've elevated. It's because they're running from the emotional consequences of losing you and the person they're with now. They're not receiving love. They're absorbing the emotional leftovers. People post their moving on pictures loud, but they miss quietly. They compare silently. They replay privately. They ache in the moments they can't perform for an audience. And trust me, those moments always hit harder than the fake smiles they upload online. They can lie to the world, but the subconscious never lies to them. Their spirit remembers the frequency you carried. And when someone has been touched by energy that authentic, everything else feels dull. Replacement connections aren't built on real alignment. They're built on avoiding loneliness. They're built on running from the truth that losing you was a spiritual rupture, not a casual breakup. And if you pay close attention, you'll notice something strange happens every time someone tries to replace a soul-deep connection. Their new relationship starts exposing them. Their patterns show. Their insecurities flare. Their old wounds reopen. Because nothing tests a person like forcing themselves into a connection their spirit isn't aligned with. And here's the twist. They're comparing. Not because they want to. Because the mind automatically measures new experiences against old emotional imprints, especially the ones that carried real energy. The more time passes, the more obvious the downgrade becomes. They'll notice the lack of depth, the lack of understanding, the lack of emotional safety. They'll notice the new person doesn't feel like home. They feel like a hotel room. Temporary, impersonal. Something to stay in while avoiding going back to the place where they left their real comfort. And distraction. That thing fades fast. At first, distraction feels like relief. Then it becomes noise. Then it becomes emptiness. Then it becomes a mirror, and that mirror is going to show them exactly what they tried to escape. The truth that they didn't fall out of love with you, they fell into fear of themselves, fear of growth, fear of accountability, fear of having to rise to your level. Because that's the real reason they can't replace you. It's not because you were nice or loving or kind, even though you were all of that. It's because your energy demanded evolution. It touched their soul, not just their body. Your presence woke them up spiritually, emotionally, psychologically. And once someone experiences a connection that deep, surface-level relationships stop satisfying them, they will feel the difference. They already do. And while they're chasing distractions, the universe is letting the contrast teach them a lesson they can't avoid. You weren't just another option. You were the frequency they didn't know how to hold. Number 6. Universal alignment is clearing out what wasn't meant. When something in your life isn't aligned with who you're becoming, it doesn't matter how tightly you try to hold onto it. Sooner or later, it slips. That's not failure. That's universal law. Folks like to believe they can outrun truth with performance, lies, or temporary feelings, but alignment isn't fooled by effort, it's only moved by authenticity. And anything not rooted in authenticity eventually cracks, breaks, or dissolves. That's what you're witnessing now, not chaos, not punishment, alignment. Universal alignment has a way of clearing out the people, patterns, and illusions that would have held you back. It doesn't always do it gently. Sometimes it pulls someone from your life like ripping off a bandage. Sometimes it slowly tightens the space between you until the connection naturally falls apart. And sometimes it exposes their intentions so clearly that keeping them in your life would go against your own evolution. But however it happens, the ending is always the same. What isn't meant for your spirit simply cannot stay. Look back for a second and really think, didn't the weight feel off? Didn't their behavior feel unbalanced? Didn't something inside you whisper, "This isn't right," even when you were trying to convince yourself it was? That was alignment trying to warn you before it had to remove them for you. The universe doesn't destroy healthy connections. It dismantles false ones. It pulls back the curtain on people's real motives, real desires, real emotional capacity. And the moment truth appears, the illusion breaks. This is why fake connections collapse so dramatically. Lies don't age well, performances don't last. Temporary love burns fast, but it also burns out fast. People who pretend eventually trip over their own act. People who hide eventually reveal themselves by accident. People who switch up eventually circle back to who they really are. You were not meant to stay tied to someone whose energy couldn't walk beside your future. So life removed them, not because they won, but because the universe refuses to let you build a destiny on unstable ground. And now, you're about to watch their choices unfold in real time. Choices rooted in ego, fear, avoidance, or pride always come with consequences. Not because the universe is punishing them, but because truth eventually demands to be seen. When someone walks away from someone aligned with their soul, everything they choose afterward becomes a mirror. Their actions reflect their wounds. Their connections reflect their patterns. Their outcomes reflect their inner state. And when someone leaves alignment, their world slowly starts to show them the cost. It won't happen in one dramatic explosion like a movie scene. Life isn't that theatrical. It happens in slow motion, in subtle shifts they won't admit but can't escape. The excitement of their new distractions fades. The validation they chased stops filling the emptiness they didn't address. The people they chose, instead of healing, reveal their true colors and the mask they wore when they walked away from you. It starts slipping, bit by bit, moment by moment, choice by choice. You're not watching karma, you're watching truth unfold. Ever notice how people who move on fast never look genuinely peaceful? That's because you can't run from misalignment. You can only delay the moment it catches up to you, and when it does, it hits hard. Silence becomes heavy. Nights feel longer. Thoughts turn sharp. And the illusion they built starts cracking because the foundation was never real. Meanwhile, you're on the opposite path. You're aligning, you're growing, you're upgrading, and that contrast alone is going to reveal everything you need to know about why they couldn't stay. You were evolving. They were resisting. You were rising. They were hiding. You were ready for depth. They were clinging to comfort. The universe always reveals what people tried to hide: their intentions, their fears, their limitations, and most importantly, their regret. You don't need revenge. You don't need closure. You don't need to prove anything. Alignment is doing the work for you, and soon you'll see it clearly. Nothing that falls apart was meant to stay, and nothing that stays aligned will ever fall apart. Number 7. Their soul is still attached to you. Their silence fooled you into thinking the connection was gone, but silence is the world's worst liar. People assume that blocking, unfollowing, ignoring, or staying distant somehow cuts emotional cords, like the bond was made of paper and not something carved into the psyche. But anyone who has lived through real connection knows the truth. The soul does not detach just because pride pressed a button. Folks, emotional bonds outlive communication. They outlive conflict. They outlive endings. And whether they admit it or not, a part of them is still tied to you in ways they can't fully understand. You became a pattern in their nervous system, a familiar energy in their spirit, a memory their mind can't file away neatly. And that's the thing about deep connections. They're not logical. They don't follow timelines. They don't disappear on command. They sit beneath the surface, shaping thoughts and emotions long after the relationship has ended. Even Jung said that what we repress doesn't disappear. It becomes unconscious, and the unconscious controls us far more than we notice. That's what's happening to them right now. They think they're moving forward, but their subconscious keeps circling back to you like a compass trying to point north. They feel you in moments they don't talk about. They feel you when a certain song plays, and their chest tightens for no reason. They feel you when they pass a place you visited together, and suddenly their mood shifts without warning. They feel you when their new conversations don't hit the same depth, when the laughs don't carry the same warmth, when the comfort doesn't feel as natural. You are still in their emotional body, and they don't know how to scrub that out. Because you can't scrub out a bond, you can only distract yourself from it until it resurfaces. And trust me, it resurfaces, always. They think of what you gave them. They remember the way your presence grounded them. They replay the moments where they felt understood in a way they haven't felt since these flashes hit them like ghosts, uninvited, unexpected, but impossible to ignore. And every time they feel that tug, they get confused, irritated, unsettled. Not because they don't care, but because they care more than they wanted to. Their soul remembers things their pride wants to forget. Folks don't talk about this enough. The deeper the connection, the deeper the residue. Emotional residue isn't messy. It's magnetic. It's the part of them that still feels drawn back to you, even when their mind insists they shouldn't. It's why they check your profile without interacting. Why they think about reaching out but stop themselves. Why they compare people to you but deny it. Why your absence feels heavier to them now than your presence ever did. And here's the wildest part. They can't explain it. They don't have the emotional vocabulary to articulate why they still feel connected to someone they walked away from. They don't understand why the bond still breathes when the relationship is over. They don't understand why you show up in dreams, in memories, in sensations. The soul is louder than logic, and they've been trying to quiet something that was never meant to be silenced. Let me paint it clearly. Your connection wasn't casual. Your presence wasn't forgettable. Your energy wasn't replaceable. And because of that, the cord between you didn't break. It just dropped into the unconscious, where it grows even stronger. You're not imagining the sense that they still feel you. You're not delusional for sensing that something is still alive between you. Their soul is still attached, still aware, still pulled toward you. They may not show it. They may resist it. They may pretend every day that they're unaffected. But their internal world tells the truth that their external world hides. The soul does not detach just because someone walked away, and theirs hasn't, not even close. Number 8. The universe brings back what's truly meant for you. When something is truly meant for you, the universe doesn't let it slip away forever. It might let it drift. It might let it distance. It might let both of you wander into different chapters for a while. But what is aligned with your soul has a strange way of looping back around, stronger, clearer, wiser, and far more honest than before. People think returning is about romance, but spiritually, returning is about completion. It's about finally learning what the connection was trying to teach in the first place. Here's the real secret folks rarely talk about. The universe never brings someone back until you've grown into the version of yourself that won't betray your own worth to keep them. That's why things feel paused, blocked, or delayed. They weren't ready. You weren't ready. Timing wasn't aligned. Maybe they needed to face themselves without the comfort of you softening their shadows. Maybe you needed to stand alone long enough to see your own power without their influence. The universe doesn't rush these things because rushed reconnections collapse the same way rushed relationships do. And the reason chasing never works, because chasing interrupts alignment. It interferes with timing. Chasing pulls you out of your center and pushes the other person deeper into avoidance. But when you stop chasing, when you return to yourself, when your inner world steadies, the energy that once felt chaotic settles, and suddenly they feel the shift, even from a distance, especially from a distance. That's when the pull begins. Quiet at first, confusing for them, undeniable once it grows. They start noticing the emptiness where your presence used to be. They feel the lack of your grounding energy. They miss the way you understood them. Without them explaining everything, they get hit with realizations that only absence can trigger. And the lesson the universe has been trying to teach them finally lands. Losing someone genuine is not freedom, it's a fracture. They don't return because they changed their mind. They return because truth finally outgrew their pride. Every distraction dries up, every replacement loses its shine, every lie they told themselves stops working, and every mask falls off. Life has a funny way of revealing the cost of letting a real one go. And you, my friend, you were real on a level they didn't know how to handle back then. But here's the bigger picture. While they were learning their lessons, you were transforming. You were healing wounds they didn't even know you had. You were building clarity, strength, self-respect. You were becoming someone you weren't before, someone you were always meant to grow into, and that evolution is exactly what makes the return possible, because now you're not stepping back into an old dynamic, you're stepping into alignment. When they come back, it won't feel like a guess, it won't feel like a gamble, it won't feel like the old chaos. It will feel like recognition, like clarity, like soul-level honesty. Because their journey away from you wasn't rejection, it was preparation. And your journey without them wasn't abandonment, it was transformation. You were never losing them. You were becoming the person they'd eventually realize they can't replace. To wrap this journey up, let's bring it home with clarity and calm truth. Everything you went through wasn't random. It shaped you, elevated you, and realigned you with what's actually meant for your life. Their absence wasn't the ending. It was the awakening. And now you know exactly why the universe allowed every shift, every silence, every goodbye. You're stepping into a higher timeline, folks, and the right ones will find their way back. If this spoke to your soul, hit that like button, share this with someone who needs it, and subscribe for more. Stay rising.